When you finished graduate school, well, near the end there, you applied to different institutions, and you applied to the University of California, Berkeley, and Carnegie Institute of Technology, now known as Carnegie Mellon, amongst other places. And you ended up going to the University of California at Berkeley. And when making that choice, what was it that influenced you to go to Berkeley?
It was the remarkable people there. There's no doubt in my mind about it. They did things I knew nothing about. I mean, there were people who did things I knew about, but there were others like Clough, Penzine, Seed. I knew nothing of their work except the renown it was held. This was a university on a roll.
And Ray Clough did his bachelor's degree at the University of Washington, one of our most distinguished graduates.
Penzine did as well, actually.
Right.
Yeah. Harry Seed did his work at the same place I did in England.
At King's College.
Yeah, yes, quite. It was on a roll, as I said, and so was the Carnegie Institute of Technology in a completely different way.
Right.
And has become extraordinarily distinguished in that way since that time. But there was a much younger faculty in Pittsburgh, much younger. And I don't know, it seemed to me that the opportunity in California to be with the best was something no way should I pass up.
It's still an excellent institution.
I think it's an excellent institution now by any measure. I don't know much about the ratings and things, but I suspect it's up there.
There's something else that was influential in your life there with at UC Berkeley. That was when you first met Ian Munro, who was spending a sabbatical there in 1963-64, and he was completely different in the Catholicism of interest to almost anybody you'd met in engineering.
That's correct, yes. I mean, vicariously I stole his leave. I mean, essentially, whatever he got involved in and studied, I was a party to, and this was remarkable because you can't do it when you're doing your regular work.
Right.
And then here was this man wanting to talk to me about what was exciting him and what he was listening to and reading. And to that extent, I was party to it because I obviously could not conduct a discussion unless I did something about it myself.
Had to do some reading.
Yes,
and he was a powerful intellect.
He's one of the giants that I've come across.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Ian died way too soon in 1985, and I just happen to have something here that I think captures a lot about him. It was my privilege to know him briefly on a visit to here. And from Imperial College News in 1985. And it sums up so much of him. In the 1960s, Ian also became interested in areas apparently remote from civil engineering. Claude Shannon's theory of communication and statistical entropy, statistical decision analysis, and Zady's fuzzy set theory. He also gave a course on computing before the college or university had any digital computers. From this stemmed his interest in systems engineering, and in 1971 the systems and mechanics section was established under his headship at Imperial College. But there's one part that I had to chortle. You got to hear a lecture by Zady on fuzzy sets, and you remarked something about, Ian said we better go hear this and dragged you in to hear it.
That's right.
And that's how you first got into that.
It was one of the great things about Berkeley was this remarkable diversity of views that were being expressed by people of very high talent indeed. I mean, they were great people.
Right.
And very generous. I mean, I still feel warmly about that.
All other very important things about Berkeley, it was in Berkeley where Jenny and Sarah were born.
Our two daughters were born there. Yeah.
And they're very precious to all of us. And also the many, many enduring friends from Berkeley days that lasted a long time.
Yes, well, to the extent they survived, they're still our friends. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The one little comment I'd like to make about the fuzzy sets, when you went and heard it, was really arcane stuff.
Yes.
But anyone who picks up a camera today to use it, it has fuzzy logic in it to improve the image. The cameras recording this today have fuzzy logic in them. The brakes in cars have fuzzy logic, so they brake smoothly. So this turned out to be a major, major shift.
Oh yes,
in how
washing machines, you name it. Yes, any control system.
At Berkeley, you also had your first doctoral student, and it turned out that you got an unbelievably rare one, now a member of the Academy of Engineering. And how did that influence you in multiple ways, A, as an academic advisor, and then wondering what to do with the next person you got to work with?
Well, clearly with your first student, you either overmanage them or undermanage them. And whichever you do, it can be successful or not. Just depends on the luck of the particular talents of the person involved. In Zazia's case, it was a flagrant example of undermanagement. I mean, he followed every suggestion that I had so efficiently, so completely, took it beyond any of my ideas and things like that, was so quick in doing the work. I had to make a strange decision at the end. Should I be associated with this publication or not? And as an assistant professor, it's very tempting to get numbers to the record book.
To show how you've spent your time.
And I had no doubts here that it would have been impertinent on my part to make that claim. What it taught me was that I had to think a lot more deeply about the supervision of doctoral students, to pay much more attention to their strengths and weaknesses,
right.
To believe that they were not all going to be of the same great talent. None of them were untalented. I'm not suggesting that, but they're very different in their...
When you found one of the best in the world as your first doctoral student.
Quite. It was a bit too easy. And also I found that if I was going to get any fun out of it, I'd have to get involved in a different way.
Right.
And your job should be fun. I had to think about how to be involved in a very different way with doctoral students than in that first one. So it was a successful experience, and it was a very instructional one as far as I was concerned.
The whole Berkeley experience was a deep intellectual experience, and from a family perspective, a wonderful friendship generation part too.
Yes.
Now, the move to Columbia in 1966, there you had the opportunity to work with two giants in mechanics, Mindlin and Freudenthal. Yeah. And I note that Mindlin was Larry Goodman's doctoral advisor back in 1948. Yeah. There's something else. Columbia was quite different from Berkeley. Berkeley is a flagship state school.
It's a private school.
Columbia is a private school.
It's a Ivy League school. It was originally King's College and changed its name after the Revolutionary War. It moved from Rockefeller Center to the countryside up on 116th Street in the beginning of the 20th century. The countryside then got inundated with homes, and its view of its mission was that very much of education and not terribly sensitive to, shall we say, the demands that fall on a public university. They didn't have to do everything.
Right.
They were very concerned about doing what they did very well.
Got it.
And they therefore didn't mind what I did, as long as I did it well.
Right.
And paid attention to the shop, you know. But it's very different than thinking of the objective of a public state university.
One thing about your stay at Columbia, it was relatively short, and you lived in New Jersey, but you did have opportunity to get into the galleries.
We went to the galleries every weekend. I don't think we went to one concert. It seemed extraordinarily difficult logistically, let's put it like that.
Right.
And also, much of the graduate lecturing was done at night.
Aha.
The undergraduates, who were members of the college, all those lectures were in the day. It was a typical college experience, but the most of the graduate lectures were given at night. They were 3-hour sessions,
Right.
and people came up from downtown offices to take.
So that gave you very few nights to go to
I was
concerts.
pretty tired. Yes. On those days, yes.
I noticed the influence of Mindlin with you. It carried over to an early piece of work that you and I did, having a go at the
Exactly.
problem of predicting strains in the vicinity of a pumping well.
Yeah.
Many people don't know about, but you can actually shear a well case off,
Yes.
as how it goes.